All right, we got another match. This time we're going to Cicada. I have swapped the teams to make things more interesting. I've played this map several times and seen this map played several times with Team 1 ANS, Team 2 OSP, and I just swapped them. And people follow directions in the lobby thing quite effectively, the lobby name. So that's great. By the way, if you're looking to host matches and to spectate matches, I highly suggest putting +1 spectator in the and then putting directions on which team you want to be, which faction, in the name of your match. That's what I did because normally when people see 8 out of 10, they won't join. But folks in this game read, which is nice, and they'll see, hey, there's +1 spectator. So, oh my god, what is happening with these names? I feel uncomfortable. I feel the voices speaking to me. So we're going to keep an eye on this guy. We've got a lot of ships. I'm guessing is rocket spam, which on this map could be absolutely devastating because it's a small map. Only got 3 points. A lot of cover. And one big hunk of cover up top. So this is a very dynamic map. It's a very fast-paced map. I don't think it goes to the points game very much. Here, it's usually direct combat, and that makes for very interesting games. We've got the I'm walking in over here with one railgun and some normal cannon on it. Very interesting. We're gonna look at this guy's fleet first. Hold on. Okay. You got the same thing over here? Can I click on you, please? No, I cannot click on you. Okay. And then one plasma with a couple of the smaller caliber guns. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that combo, Chief. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this. Are these? Got a fleet of monitors with T-30s, grazers, and plasma that could rip someone's face off. Well-rounded point defense. Some T-30s, some bastions, or some grazers, some bastions. Okay, what do we got over here? Bloodhound, EWR Tug. Okay. Usually the guy with the terrifying mental disorder names. EWR Tug, monitors with T-30s and C-60s. This gentleman is gunned up, as the name might suggest. He's ready to slay. We have more rails on 3 rails on this Ocello. What other ship do you have? 3 more rails. Okay, so we got 7 rails on this team in total. That's going to be interesting depending on, oh yeah, if the ANS has some big ships, which it does. 2 Solomons on this team and an Axford and a Vauxhall. I think those rails are going to be very effective against these Solomons. Especially gun Solomons geared up to handle missile spam with a one escort. Yeah, more anti-missile escort. That's Tony Quito here has a similar build to the Solomon player from the last game. It's also got a Soviet flag and a CCP. Okay. Nice. Spinner escorting a missile Vauxhall. Got a couple guns on it, but I think a good chunk of its armament is missiles. This is well-rounded. It might be a little too well-rounded. So it's a moderate amount of missiles, a moderate amount of guns, and a targeting radar. But I don't know about putting a targeting radar on something that only has 2 guns on it. We'll see. What a tiny bit of E-War and some missiles on this Reigns. And no, this isn't a Reigns, this is a Keystone. It's got a beam. Oh my, this could be very dangerous. I already looked at you. Pretty standard Axford. Lots of internals. 2 reinforced magazines. Oh my. that a Citadel CIC spied? Yeah, Citadel and a reinforced. This thing is... Oh, this might be more tanky than the Solomons are. A lot of beefy internals. Escorted by a mass driver Keystone with a couple guns on it. Very exciting stuff. The fighting has already started. People are barely moved out of their spawn points and they're in gun range of each other. That's not that surprising. It's a small map. That's why I picked it. Thought it'd be fast and freaky and busy and just woo! Which it is. This monitor team's getting shredded. Yeah, 450s is exactly what you want against monitors. They have the most armor of all the OSP ships other than the Ocello. But the Ocello is an old ANS ship, so I don't know if that counts. And also the angling on these ships makes them a lot more tanky than they would seem to be at first glance. Because all the weird angling on this causes a lot of deflections, especially on 250s. They have high armor value, and they're small, which means it's easy to miss them. So I think, defense-wise, these are the most defensive, most survivable ships. Because it's hard to get good shots on them, as we're seeing. Communist Party over there is just absolutely missing all of his shots on this thing. And we got more fire incoming. Nothing's landing. A few things have hit, but the DC teams are on it. Looks like the only thing that's taking significant damage is part of the main engine. Those plasmas are getting damaged down the field. If these Solomons can get all plasma'd up, they're going to be in big trouble. Switching to pointing the bow forward is a good call. I don't know if these beams are going to be able to get in range with how open this area that he's in is. He probably would have had better luck coming around from below and snaking through all these asteroids. Keep defilade on the enemy team and get in and beam them down, because the Solomon really has to get in close. Beam Solomon players are a different breed. I don't have the balls for that shit, that's for sure. You gotta play like a maniac, but you don't have the speed of the Keystones or the rocket frigates, which are the other two ships you really need to play like a maniac with. Rails seem to be doing some damage. Starting fires causing trouble, but Solomons have very robust DC teams on them, at least they should. Some more plasma coming out on this guy who's broadsiding. That's going to be real bad news. Because that's Solomon. It needs the armor. Taking plasma volleys right at the start is not good. I think that one's going to hit right on the nose, or it's going to miss entirely. Cool. I'll just not predict where their shots are going to hit. It's impossible to tell in 3D space. Okay, this guy's getting shot at. It's been a long time since Spanish 101. Espan conmigo. Getting brutally shot. What's he firing at? It looks to be that Ocello back there, which is hiding behind a rock and another Ocello. Axford's taking a lot of hits. And from those rails, I still can't tell if those rails are really adding that much. Taking rounds on the chin. I don't know if anybody on this team has 450s. No, they can't, because these little ships can't mount the 450s. They gotta mount the 250s. Or no, they can. That's a 60. You can fit 60s on monitors. Today I learned. So those are 450s, which means this boy's in big trouble, especially if those are HE 450s. This Keystone's gonna get annihilated. Oh yeah. He's dodging pretty effectively, but the 250 fire coming out of this other monitor fleet is pretty strong. I'm pretty sure it's 250s, yeah. Or it's hundreds? Yep, it's hundreds, not 250s. It's still hard to tell. Because the 450s are really obvious because they're big, and the rails and the mass drivers are each really obvious and unique to each other. But it's hard to tell the difference between the 250s and the 100s, I think, anyways. Dumping fire into this Solomon, but this is not the Solomon that has been plasma'd. Those 100 millimeters aren't doing anything to these compartments, and he's got in close. He's got his beams on target. Beams, on the other hand, will absolutely annihilate these little monitor ships. It's exactly what you need against these, because it renders all their defenses useless. Small size, can't hit it, doesn't matter. Beams. Good armor, doesn't matter. Beams. Good angling, doesn't matter. Beams. These are on cooldown now, and he's really out in front of his team, off by himself. But there is so much damage potential here. If he can just... He's going to die. This is a one-way trip, for sure. But if he can deal enough damage here, it's not going to matter. If he completely cripples the OSP team, then he will have single-handedly won the game. I mean, his point-capping friends is good. But this thing is an absolute menace. It's getting plasmid now, though, which means those 100 mils are going to start doing work. Yeah, 2 compartments just went down. DC teams are frantically trying to repair. Still enough power for another beam blast. 2 more beam blasts. Do we hear a third? No, I think the top 4, yeah. Beam turret is dead, it still glows, which bothers me. But these Ocellos are getting cut to shreds. Modules getting deactivated left and right. Look at how fast that works. My God, Tom. Get a lucky shot and shoot someone's CIC or reactor out from under them. That would be a huge boon, although these Citadel CICs are practically impossible to take down. Also provided enough of a distraction for the rest of his team to move into position. I don't think they're making the best use out of it. Yeah. But they are making use out of it. Capping points. Getting a wide spread. Alright, if ANS wins this, Biff is the MVP of that, I have no doubt. Biff Motrin. Biff Motrin? That's an interesting name. And these Solomons can take the punishment. And the real problem with having this in your lines is you have to full kill it. Because if you leave a Solomon alone, if you get it down to like where it is now, where it's basically dead, but it's not actually dead, and you just sort of leave, these things can come back to life. It's unreal. I actually don't think he has enough DC lockers for that. We got 1 large, but it's broken. We got another large, it's broken. DC teams. Beam turret's getting repaired. 1 large is still in operation. Might be able to restore the other larges and bring the whole thing online. No, he's going for the beam repairs. Which means it's going to be out of restores and will not be able to repair the lockers and resurrect this thing from the dead. However, he might get a chance to get another beam volley off. I think resurrecting him from the dead is a fool's dream anyways, because they are just going to keep hammering away. So the beams might be the right call here. His poor little friend is absolutely ruined. Let's see what's going on elsewhere. Okay, someone else is in range and firing at one of the longer range Ocellos. Oh, beam dreadnoughts. Beam dreadnoughts. Those players are crazy. This guy has his very weak and easily destroyed drive section pointed directly at his foes, and it has taken damage. Hasn't taken that much damage, but you really got to be careful with that when you're flying the Ocello around. Oh, yeah, more directly into that drive section. No, it's directly into the back of the bridge. More rounds coming in. Let's see where the impact. Into the aft. Yeah, aft's where all your important stuff is, man. You got your main engines back there. You got your drive back there. You got your reactors back there. Don't want that getting blown up. Don't point it towards your opponents. The Rail Solo back here is taking a lot of hits. Doesn't seem to be making many shots, though. Yeah, I don't know how many shots this thing's gotten off, if any. I think this map is actually pretty bad for rails. I brought rails here once and it was completely annihilated. Well, they were mass drivers. But because it's so close and it's so easy to push, I mean, if your team can hold a strong front line, then the rails can work. But if they can't hold the strong front line, then you're just going to get mopped up. And that appears to be what's happening right now. As the Solomon provided the fear and the concern to keep all these players back here fighting it instead of pushing forward and creating a screen for the long-range ships. And the long-range ships are just getting annihilated because of it. Which is a big problem for the OSP team. Big problem. I had my doubts when I saw the Beam Solomon hard burning the OSP side of the map, but it seems to have worked out quite well for them. And more hits into that drive section. They have the Insanity team just dumping 450s onto this Voxel. Accuracy's not great, getting a little damage in. But missiles in the tubes. Let's see where these go. Thunderheads. AMMs coming out of this fleet back here. Yeah, those AMMs are probably unnecessary. Well, maybe not. We'll see. Yeah. Clonk. Clonk. Yeah, there's a huge PD swarm and just immense waste of AMMs. And as soon as the missiles came out of this thing, everyone else on the OSP team immediately opened fire on it. That is the correct choice. You do not want missile ships to be able to dump their payloads out. That's too dangerous. But it's pretty funny how you can be a firepower magnet like that. I appreciate how quickly the OSP team adapted to that, and this is going to start backing off. I don't know if it's going to be able to get away, though. Oh, man. Yeah. Looks like its drive just cut out. Probably not enough electricity. Plant control is down. Maybe he's trying to make it appear like it's dead, but I have a feeling that this is just actually nearly dead. The other Solomon is continuing to get lit up by plasma. It hasn't taken that much damage yet, but the plasma is cumulative and cannot be repaired. You can't just make plasma go away. Getting hit on the main broadside with plasma continuously is a recipe for disaster on one of these ships. We're seeing it right now. It looks like those hundreds are eating into this thing. Reactors are taking a lot of damage. Mount gyros are taking a lot of damage. And that's going to be even worse for that drive block. This monitor fleet is going to eat this poor defenseless Solomon for lunch. There's one of the reactors down. That's a big problem because that's going to turn into a whole lot of other things not working. real quick. Looks like he's trying to get to cover. A rail shot. Haven't seen much out of those rail ships. How are you doing down here? Not good. Looks like the OSP is turning it around. I had counted them out way too early. I thought they were just going to get pushed and pushed hard and overwhelmed, but that voxel got annihilated. This cluster of an entire team over here firing at one target at a time is, well, it's pretty effective. Solomon is beat to hell. And repairs DC lockers. He needs to chill behind this rock while he gets his DC lockers back online and then can repair other things. And that, yeah, those are the braking thrusters. That looks to be exactly what he's doing. Hide back here. Get some important things online. Get back in the fight. Problem is, with that not taking any fire anymore, this voxel, well, his voxel's already dead. It's going to need a few more rounds. That just means it won't be able to cap points. Speaking of cap points, the... apologies. OSP is definitely up on firepower, but they have not been able to control any points. Looks like that's where this Gun Ocello team is heading. They're heading to Alpha. Take that. Might be in for a nasty surprise when they come around the side of this rock, though, depending on what shape the Solomon's in, because 450s into the flank of Ocellos is a recipe for a blown-up Ocello. And if this Beamstone can get a little closer and get angled properly, it could also deal some damage. Got a Dragonfly in here? No, just a standard, so it's going to take a little bit for that to get angled properly, especially with the angle those are coming in at, and it's going to be constantly increasing that angular change necessary. Looks like the Beamstone's able to rotate just very slightly faster than the rate they can increase it. But it's not going to matter because the beam cannon's going down. The drive is down. And that ship is going up in smoke. The reactor's getting toasted. Reactor's dead. Or one rapid DC yet, and so that means none of this is coming back online. So this ship is done. There is nothing important left on that ship, and will never be anything important on that ship again. This is interesting. A lot of rail hits going into this voxel, but it doesn't really matter because everything over here that the rail could do anything about is already offline. Starting fires in the reactor is helpful, I guess. But at this point, the voxel is just eating munitions that could be spent elsewhere. I mean, that adds. It helps. Okay, the fighting over here has started. These Ocellos are really not taking that much damage. Oh, because all the plasma on that side of this Solomon, he should have flipped around. I mean, that's not really practical to do in a Solomon. But he's going to get absolutely devoured by these shells hitting into unarmored compartments, which are getting further withered by even more plasma into that back end. This is what I was talking about, though. He's mostly brought his stuff back online. Asks about Solomon's being able to resurrect. I don't think it's going to be enough. Especially if they can keep wailing on that engineering section of this ship. They're not low enough to cap A, which is a bit of an error. The OSP player's part. But, I mean, I'd be making mistakes too if I came around a corner and saw a big ol' Solomon waiting, even if he was pretty beat up. Oh, and now he's very beat up. 2 reactors down, 2 DC lockers down. That's a big problem. It's looking like he's out of restores. Keto's having problems. He's blaming the map. I think that's actually just your ship, dog. Solomons aren't exactly good at rolling. Yeah. I think that's a pretty resounding OSP victory. Assuming they can take the point. I need to start calling these guys Shelter Alliance and Protectorate. Or just Alliance and Protectorate. I think it'll make things a lot clearer, especially now that they're in clear-cut factions. Very few people play the mixed faction. Because it's an unbalanced mess if you do teamwork right. It's complete AIDS. Marking and targeting you. Okay, so this guy's having some network issues because he definitely didn't roll onto his back. He's been upright the whole time. So yeah, he just can't manage his ship hulls with what the problem is. That's definitely user error. Solomons are hard to drive around. It's not necessarily his fault. Yeah, he's got a Raider. Dragonfly. Do Raiders reduce your ability to... No. No, I don't think they do. Maybe it's a power problem. I don't know. But yeah, he wasn't doing anywhere near as much as he could have been doing, for sure. This might just be a case of a user mad because bad. That happens. Who knows? Maybe he's having actual problems. Oh, and that's a lifeboat out of the battleship. Means that is Toasterino. What is left in this game for the ANS? This voxel, technically, and this destroyer, technically, and this sprinter, which is totally fine. That is the game. Yeah, that's the game. I mean, it'll maybe be a points thing. We'll see. Kind of wish, I understand why they don't do this, but it would be nice if host had the ability to call a match. Say, alright, ANS is lost. The game is over. Surrender now. I mean, they've had the point advantage. So they might be able to play for time. I mean, militarily, ANS team has been defeated, no question. But that's not what matters in this game mode. Yeah, with how mad this guy is. I'm definitely sensing a, I handled my ship wrong and I don't want to take the blame for it vibe. More than anything else. Okay, we've got this group of monitors really moving fast. Back here. Oh, maybe not that fast. Yeah, I was just really zoomed in. Oh, the Axford coming over the top. I had forgot about this team. Since they were out of the fight for so long, looping around the top of this mountain. They have done some damage. They have done a tiny bit of damage, actually. These were ANS ships that got blown up inside the OSP lines. It's down to this Axford to save the day. Yeah, that's a big problem. Alpha's going to OSP. This guy's burning hard to Bravo, but I don't think he's gonna make it. Especially not if he's still firing at something that's dead instead of the things that are alive. I don't know if his turret can cant up that high. No, definitely not. Can spin a ship, but then he'll be taking even more of a beating. Elder Leaf having absolutely none of it.
The enemy secured Zone Atlas.
OSP's taking Alpha. I don't think it would take very much for them to grab Charlie. Gunfire coming out of the Axford up towards the Ocello up here, actually, not the monitors. That's probably the good choice since this thing's already beat up. The four-gun firing at the wall? No, I think that was punched through. Yeah, it was punched through. Oh, I have no idea what their hooks are. He's gonna take Bravo. That's good for the ANS team. I think, yeah, especially with this burning in fast. I think it's not gonna be too big of a deal. There's the boxer, Vauxhall, getting annihilated, having the last tiny bit of life beat out of it by plasma and 100s, and oh, this is not safe for your children, folks. Holy crap! That Axford just bathed a whole bunch of ships in blue light. It's not an Axford, actually. I think it's the Sprinter that exploded. Yeah. Oh, and those Ocellos are not feeling great. It's certainly too little too late, but it's nice to get out some reactor damage and just see the tanned hides of the ships, of the enemy ships. Speaking of enemy ships, the OSP is eliminating this particular enemy vessel with extreme prejudice. It's already dead and they're still firing. There's one thruster at 23%. And that's it. Looks like they're going to capture Charlie. Yeah. This Axford is holding on by a thread. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not allowed to call the match. Because that would have been a disservice to these players who are doing good work. And they may not be able to win it, but god damn it, they can try. This thing is getting annihilated. It's getting pushed up against this rock. I'm getting pings on a messaging service. Sorry about that. I should exit out of that when I'm doing these. And here we have the ubiquitous online video game shit talking. Dude does something very basic and then is extremely proud of it, even though it doesn't make a bit of difference in the final outcome of the game. And yeah, he's Tostarino. Here's the inside of an Axford that's been shot to hell. Our local dwarf fortress enjoyer is planning on shooting the life pods. Minor war crime. Be careful about that. Yeah, Axfords are tanky as hell. I said this earlier. I think this Axford's actually going to wind up being more tanky than the Solomons, because the angled armor on the Axfords does a lot better work at deflecting bullets than the armor on the Solomon. The Solomon armor just can't be pinned through. And plasma will wreck the raw numbers of the Solomon's armor, but it won't wreck the numbers of deflection chance on the Axford, because that's based on the geometry of the ship, and that's not a number that you can reduce. It'll reduce the raw armor value, which will help with that deflection chance, but angling on these ships is very powerful. I'm just waiting for this jackass to surrender or to be killed. I'm assuming he's gonna have to be destroyed, given his general attitude. So let's just sit back, relax, close out the console, and enjoy the ship getting blown up as we wait for the AAR. I'm gonna need to figure out some video editing, some really basic video editing, so I can deal with this when it happens. I can just fast forward through it. That's surely very simple, right? Even the other players are getting annoyed. So this is the problem with playing online games, is you can wind up in matches with people like this, who might have done some decent plays considering his position, but now he's just being an unhappy jerk. That's your PSA for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be an unhappy jerk. There's a lot of canceled fire commands. Okay, let's take a look through this after action report. We have... The Elder Leaf only had one ship. That's not correct. Got a whole bunch of ships. He had a little monitor fleet. Yeah, they got moved down to Tornado's team for some reason. I don't know what that's about. Let's look at the Solomons. Okay, Communist Solomon did not great. Beam Solomon did also not great, but I think positionally he did a lot of work in pushing the team back, the OSP team back. I think that the Protectorate was really caught off guard by a shelter Beam Solomon just being inside of them. It's sort of dangerous, sort of a bad thing. You really don't want that to happen. And if the rest of the shelter players had capitalized on that and pushed a lot harder, I think they had the potential to win the match very effectively. Because with all the Protectorate ships stuck in kind of the same area, they had a really high target fire potential, but they had no map control and they had no angling effectiveness. And the other Solomon and the Voxel could have pushed in, and the Axford, if it wasn't doing its own thing, could have all pushed in together and just tore them to pieces. But that didn't happen. Instead, they all peaked one at a time and got destroyed one at a time. Very effectively and efficiently. Oh man, that hurts. This missile voxel could have dunked on the entire enemy team. But it got destroyed very quickly before doing much. Alright, that's the game. I don't think we need to go over the Protector Forces. The Plasma did work. The Rails participated, technically. And the upgunned monitors did a lot of damage. And the undergunned monitors did a lot of damage. The Alliance team just got, as it were. Alright. Bye, folks.